and author of the smoothie book. And I'm here to talk to you every week about nutrition topics. This week, super fun. We are going to be talking balsamic vinegar. Whoops, this way. We're going to be talking balsamic vinegar. And we're going to talk the history, we're going to talk the types, we're going to talk about some general information, some health information, and we're going to make a super, super good-looking recipe, which is called roasted balsamic cranberry and Brie Crostini. I thought this is going to be a perfect recipe to make in November. I think we're going to love it. We're going to try it this afternoon, and probably we're making it again on Thanksgiving and maybe even Christmas. It's just such a seasonal recipe. So I've never done cranberries and balsamic before. It's going to be good. So I love having a conversation during the show. So if you have any questions or comments or want to talk balsamic vinegar, put them in the chat and I will discuss with you. So I don't know if you can hear the rain, but it is raining here right now, and it's very windy. So if you hear some crazy rain, we're having a lot of rain here in Seattle. Okay, so we're going to start on the recipe first because it takes a little while for the cranberries to roast. And I've already made the crostini because took a little bit of time, and I just wanted to have that done, so I'll tell you what I did there too. And then we'll dive right into the topic of balsamic. Okay, so again, this recipe is called roasted balsamic cranberry and Brie Crostini. Basically, super exciting. Okay, so I made crostini first. Let me get this just in case the pan is still hot. Very likely it is. Okay, so you just take French bread, a loaf of French bread, and the recipe says to paint it with melted butter and olive oil. I just said olive oil. But, we already have Brie. Oh, it reminds me I have to get the Brie out of the refrigerator. Okay, so I already made these. You toast it for about 5 minutes on 425. Flip them. I toasted them just for like 2 more minutes because they're pretty crunchy. So, there we go. We have our toasts. Next, we're going to make the cranberry component, which also looks really, really good. So this is 1 bag, 12 ounces of fresh cranberries. I was really excited to see these in the grocery store already. Then, olive oil. Ooh, gotta get this. The olive oil actually was for the crostini, so we don't need that. Okay. So we're going to mix 2 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar. We're going to go into much more detail about balsamic. Okay, and what kind I'm using today and all of that good stuff. All right, and it calls for half of a cup of sugar. I'm going to use maple syrup. I usually use the alternative syrups and sugar alternatives. So I'm doing about 3 tablespoons of maple syrup because I just feel like that's going to be enough to make this sweet. I think. We'll see. And what else? Rosemary. Now this is fresh rosemary from our garden. If you missed the episode on rosemary, check it out. Okay, so I'm going to save a little bit so we can use it as garnish. And I'm going to put a little bit of salt. It doesn't call for that, but I think that'd be good. Okay, then we're going to mix it all up. Make sure every little cranberry is nicely coated. And so the recipe says to put it on a baking sheet, and you can line it with parchment if you want. But they said it gets pretty sticky, so I'm going to use a baking pan because it just seems like it would be easier to clean, and I put a little bit of olive oil on the inside as well, so maybe it won't stick quite as much. Okay, so that's good. The oven is preheated already at 425 because we did that for the crostini. And here we go. And we're going to spread this into the baking dish. All right. And I'm gonna put it as much of one even layer as possible. We're gonna be stirring it a little bit, so it's all good. Okay, then we're gonna put it in the oven and roast it. Okay, so we're gonna do about 6 minutes. Then I'm gonna stir it another 6 minutes, and they should be ready, is what the recipe says. So that's exciting because it doesn't take too long. Easy, easy appetizer anytime of the year, but especially around the holiday season. Sometimes cranberries are kind of hard to come by, except in November and December. Okay, so we got the recipe cooking. Once those are done, I'm gonna get the Brie. Okay, so balsamic vinegar. What is balsamic vinegar? Well, it's a vinegar that originates in Italy, and it's made completely or mostly from grape must, which is the original grape juice that is juiced from grapes when making wine. So it still has the stems and the seeds and the skins and everything are all still in that juice. So that's called the must. So it's not wine yet, but it's just the juice that first comes out. And sometimes a must is used as a sweetener because it has a high glucose level, so it's used in recipes. Also, it's used to make balsamic vinegar. Okay, so the difference between must and grape juice. Grape juice is pasteurized and filtered, and must is very different because it still has the seeds and skins and stems and all that, and that's why it is brown or dark purple, or it's much darker than a grape juice would be. So the term aceto balsamico okay. Excuse me. We're gonna go back to that in a little bit. But the term aceto balsamico, I got confused for a second, is an unregulated term, meaning that anybody can say something's balsamic vinegar, except 3 types. So those 3 types are traditional balsamic of Modena, traditional balsamic of Reggio Emilia, and balsamic vinegar of Modena, which this is balsamic vinegar of Modena, which I thought was really cool. I got it at Trader Joe's. It says product of Italy on the back. We're going to go into that in a little bit about ingredients and all that kind of stuff. So 3 types of vinegars that get to be called what they are, and nobody else can say that unless they have followed all these regulations. So the 2 traditional types, the traditional balsamic of Modena and of Reggio Emilia, go through the same process of making them, where they're made the same way. They reduce the grape must. That's kind of hard to say. Grape must. And it's aged for a certain number of years in wooden barrels. We're going to go into a little bit more detail later. And they're produced exclusively in the provinces of Modena or Reggio Emilia. So they have to be made there. Kind of like we talked about, Parmesan cheese has to be made in a specific region in Italy. Champagne has to be made in a specific region of France, all that kind of stuff. So there are rules as to where it has to be made, how long it's aged, what kind of grapes are used, all that kind of stuff. So the names of these 2 vinegars are protected by the European Union's protected designation of origin. And the less expensive version, called balsamic vinegar of Modena, is also made with the grapes, similar grapes, but it's blended with white vinegar, or wine vinegar, excuse me. And it's produced exclusively in Modena or Reggio Emilia as well, with a protected geographical indication status. So those 3. So this is that. It's not the traditional, but it is the balsamic vinegar of Modena. And it says product of Italy on the back. And the ingredients, it says concentrated grape must, wine vinegar, and that's it. That's it. So that's what this is. This is really good. Trader Joe's. I use it all the time. I make dressings with it. Today we're making our dish with it. I highly recommend it. Okay, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail of what other vinegars are made of and all that stuff. Okay, so this is what I was going to say before. So some general information. The word balsamico is Latin, and it means, the root is Latin, and it means balsam-like, which also means restorative and curative. So there are some really good, powerful components in balsamic vinegar. Traditional balsamic vinegar is produced from the juice, we already know that, of the just harvested white grapes, usually the Trebbiano grapes, the must. And it's boiled down to reach a minimum sugar concentration of about 30%. And then it's fermented, slowly aged in these barrels to make it very concentrated and very flavorful. The flavor, of course, intensifies over the years, and it's stored in these wooden barrels, and it becomes very sweet, very viscous, thick, and concentrated. So, like, if you've ever made balsamic vinaigrette and you pour it in, you know, you have to cut it with some oil, a little bit of sugar. I usually use maple syrup. Okay, let's check on our cranberries, and then we'll come back to that general information. Okay, we're going to give them a stir. They're looking good. Looking good. Okay. So basically what we're looking for is for the cranberries to start breaking. If you've ever made cranberry sauce, ooh, I can smell vinegar. Kind of the same concept. So we want them to break and kind of break down, the sugars to come out, all that stuff. Okay. So we're going to do 7 minutes, and we'll come back. Okay. So this is really interesting, this next piece of information. During this aging process, part of the vinegar evaporates, and that is said, it's called the angel's share. So, you know, it evaporates, goes up into the heavens, all that stuff, which is also a term used when they make bourbon whiskey, when they make Scotch whiskey, wine, and other alcoholic beverages. So it's kind of donated upward. And the rule is that none of the product can be taken out or tasted or anything until the end of this aging period, which is typically at least 12 years. So at the end of this, a small portion can be drawn out of the smallest cask and then tasted. I guess kind of like wine. Okay, so some of the uses, some of the cuisines that it's used with. So in Emilia Romagna, the traditional vinegar is most often served as little drops on top of Parmigiano Reggiano cheese and mortadella, and this is an antipasto dish. That sounds so good. Sometimes it's drizzled over fruit, especially strawberries and pears. And it's also used on steaks and eggs and proteins, chicken, grilled fish, things like that. And traditional vinegar is oftentimes sipped from a tiny glass as well to conclude the end of a meal. I thought that was really interesting. I would like to do that. I can see how that would be a really great part of a big meal. It's kind of palate cleanser, all that. So, okay, so now we're going to talk about types. So there are 3 main grades of vinegar, and then I'm going to talk about white vinegar as well, white balsamic vinegar. Because I've used that before and I wanted to learn a little bit more. So we're going to talk about the 3 different types. The 3 different grades are traditional, commercial, and condiment grade. So these are the 3 main types. So traditional, we kind of went over this already. Traditional vinegar, it's labeled with these names. It has to be produced in Modena or Reggiano Emilia, Italy. The process takes many years, and it produces a very thick and glossy product. Very, very delicious. Only specific grapes, the Trebbiano and I found in another place Lambrusco grapes. One of these two grapes are the only two grapes that can be used to make balsamic vinegar. And the juice is then aged in these wooden barrels for 12 to 18 years. And it develops this very unique flavor. I don't know if you've ever done a balsamic tasting, but they can range in flavor just like wine. So traditional balsamic vinegar is the highest grade that you can get, and it's also the most expensive. So next grade is commercial grade balsamic vinegar. And commercial grade, these are more of the mass-produced types of balsamic vinegars, and they're aged for a very minimum amount of time, and sometimes they're not even aged at all. They're made from wine vinegar and also often have caramel coloring, thickeners, and flavors added to them. So if you want to know what's in your vinegar, in your balsamic vinegar, read the ingredients because it will list those things, and then you'll know that you have the commercial grade vinegar. And which is fine, and it can be used, you know, of course, for salad dressings and marinades and sauces. But if you're looking for that, like pure, read the ingredients, or make sure it says it's from Modena, things like that. So domestic vinegars made in the United States cannot carry the Modena name. It has to be made in Modena if you want it. If you want to know that the balsamic is that type. There we go. So usually the domestic kinds are the ones that's going to have these like fillers and colors and flavors added to them. Next is the condiment grade balsamic vinegar. And this label is usually given to the balsamic vinegars that don't quite meet all of those strict rules and regulations of the traditional versions. So maybe they were made just outside of Modena or just outside of the Reggio Emilia, but they use similar techniques. So it is still a really good quality vinegar, but maybe it hasn't been aged for exactly 12 years, maybe it was 11 years. So typically it's made similarly, but it's just not in the region or not in the same amount of time. So this would be an example of that. This is from Modena. So it's not the traditional, but it's the next level down, I guess. And also way less expensive. I don't remember how much that was, but I know that some balsamics can be really expensive. So that is that. And then the white vinegar, I just wanted to know about it. White balsamic vinegar is they pressure cook the must, the grape juice with all the things in it, so that it doesn't turn brown. And so it has kind of more of like a golden hue to it. And it is just a gentler, like less strong, I guess, flavor. And a lot of people and chefs like to use it for things that they don't want to have that brown color. So maybe like a lighter colored vinaigrette, or you want to put it on some roasted vegetables, but you don't want the roasted vegetables to turn brown. Then you use the white balsamic vinegar. So it can be used for dressing, vegetables. It can be used for deglazing pans. So you don't get that like dark color that the traditional balsamic would give. And it is good. It is milder. It's just a nice option. Okay, so let's talk about the health information. Let's see. Okay, we have 30 seconds and I gotta check these cranberries again. Okay, I have 5 health benefits of balsamic vinegar. Number 1, balsamic vinegar contains 6% acetic acid, which is a little bit more than you'll get in apple cider vinegar. And they have recognized this as a very powerful antimicrobial. So good stuff. And it's been used medicinally for a long time. Okay, we'll come back. We'll come back to number 2. Let's check these cranberries. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, they're starting to break down. I'm just gonna give it a little stir. We're gonna keep them in there for just a couple more minutes. Okay. Probably not the best to stir it in the oven, because you might touch the burner like I just did. Okay. I recommend taking it out of the oven and stir. Okay. So, Number 2, a study found that balsamic vinegar had anti-glycemic impact when consumed, which means that it's not going to spike your blood sugar like other things with sugar do. It spikes it, the spike is a lot less after a meal if you've consumed balsamic vinegar. That was pretty cool. And number 3, the probiotics found in acetic acid, which is in balsamic, may help promote good gut health, so good for our digestive system, and good for our digestion and overall immune function. Number 4, balsamic vinegar may help lower our cholesterol, in particular the LDL cholesterol, which is the bad cholesterol. This is interesting. There was a study done where they gave rabbits one of 4 different diets. One diet was just normal diet. Another diet was a high cholesterol diet. The third diet was high cholesterol with a low dose of vinegar. And the fourth diet was a high cholesterol diet with a high dose of vinegar. And the result was the rabbits that ate the high cholesterol diet with a high dose of vinegar had lower LDL cholesterol. So that's pretty awesome. It really makes me want to have more balsamic vinegar. And balsamic vinegar also helps with our blood circulation. So there was a study done. They found that grape juice, which we know balsamic is made from, in comparison to orange juice and grapefruit juice, helped people's circulation by making the blood not clot as much, and which is good for our heart health. So good for our circulation. Okay, so are there risks in consuming balsamic vinegar? Stay tuned. Let's get those cranberries out of the oven. Okay. Stay tuned. Is there a risk? Okay. Oh, yeah. These are definitely done. Ooh, they look good. Let's see. Let me get 2 oven mitts so I can come over and show you. It is like jam and cranberry sauce for Thanksgiving. Oh, it smells so good. The combination of the balsamic and the rosemary is really, really nice. Okay. Look at that. Doesn't that look good? Okay, so we're just going to set this here, and I will come back to that in just a moment. Just have a few more talking points, and then we will make a delicious appetizer that we're going to enjoy at our house right now. Okay, so are there risks in consuming balsamic vinegar? Not a whole lot of risk, but the only thing is if you consume a lot of it, and I don't know what that number looks like, but if you consume a lot of it, it might erode the enamel on your teeth, which is also something that can happen if you consume a lot of apple cider vinegar, and it might give you heartburn. So just to keep that in mind, but you probably do have to have a lot of it. Okay, what's the best way to store balsamic vinegar? Well, in a sealed container at room temperature, in a dark, dry place, like we say for a lot of herbs and spices and things like that. It can be kept for an indefinite amount of time. One thing is that some of the parts might settle and you might see little pieces and chunks in there, but it doesn't mean it's gone bad, it just means it's settled. So apparently the ideal temperature is between 40 and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a pretty big range. Most of the year, that's going to be just fine in our houses. Okay, I'm going to step away just for a few seconds while I go get the Brie. And I want to show you this Brie because I love it. Okay, hold on. I hope that was a lot of suspense. Okay. This is, of course, Trader Joe's, but you can buy it in this nice little container. It looks like butter almost. And it's already sliced. So you just put it on the Crostini. It's so great. Okay. So we're going to assemble. We are going to assemble. So I'm going to put 2 on here because we're going to be sharing 2 little of the breads, the toasts. And then we're going to open the Brie. And if you haven't tried this, you got to go out and try it because it's so easy to put on a cracker or a sandwich. Okay. And, oh, maybe it's not already sliced, but it's just very sliceable because of the shape. Just very nice to slice. Okay. Yeah. Very sliceable, just really easy. Because you know sometimes when you have the triangle of Brie, it just kind of smashes when you slice it, which is fine too. I'll eat any kind of Brie. But this just makes it really easy to slice. And there you go. Okay, then we're going to scoop a little bit of the cranberry topping over it. Oh yeah, and this is nice. So the recipe says you can serve it warm like this or at room temperature. You can actually put this in the refrigerator and, you know, serve it a different day. And also the little crostinis keep really well too. I like it warm because then it's going to melt the Brie, make it even better. Okay, and then we're going to just put a little bit of rosemary on top. I will be posting this on Insta, so you can see the final results. But I will show you here as well. Oh, maybe I'll just hold it and see. That's better. Doesn't that look so good? I can't wait. Okay, so that's it. That is the story on balsamic vinegar. So many good health benefits, all different kinds out there. Anybody can say balsamic unless you for sure want to know that it is the traditional kind from Italy. It's called traditional balsamic vinegar from Modena or from Reggio Emilia, or it can just be called balsamic vinegar of Modena, which that's what this is. All right. Thank you all for joining the show. I'll see you again next week. Try this and let me know what you think. Let me know on Instagram what you think. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. We're going to try it today, and we're going to probably have it for Thanksgiving as well. Okay, have a great day. Talk to you all again soon. Thanks for joining in on the show. Bye.